All right. Good afternoon. Thanks everybody for being here. My name is Richard. I'm here on behalf of Rodeo Dental and kind of excited to take us through a quick case study. Before we get started, I gotta say, this was a particularly difficult talk to kind of like wrap my head around, right? Being new to the space, being new to the marketing space, it's like, okay, so like, what can I really tell a room full of professionals that have been doing this for a really long time, right? And so what we kind of came up with is, well, why don't we just share our story, right? Kind of what it is we do and how it is that we got here. And I think a large part of that, a big theme that we found, was existing at the intersections, whether that be of passions, perspective, or technical applications. And so, without further ado, quick disclaimer. Overarching theme, really unique approach to a fundamental truth about content and conversion. This is probably something that you've seen day in and day out. And so it's nothing that you don't already know, just a little different take. Okay, so who are we? Rodeo Dental and Orthodontics, based out of Fort Worth, Texas, right? We've got about 35 locations across now Texas and Colorado, and some funding to help hopefully get us to 150 offices by the end of 3 years. And who am I? Well, in this ecosystem, I started off as an associate dentist. Kind of found my way into consulting after graduation as well. Rodeo was also the platform for me to kind of get started there, right? As a consultant, answer questions, whether that be in internal systems or marketing, right? Communication, if you will. Just recently, in the past 6 months, got the opportunity to onboard officially as the Director of Growth and Marketing as a part of that. If you were to look at all of these endeavors as a whole, though, it's really just opportunities for application of a passion for creating and building, right? Whether that be creating conversations, treatment plans, building campaigns, or sectors. So, how'd I get here? Graduated 2017, started off as an intern, worked my way into like, okay, what's kind of going on? How do I answer some questions? Like, what's the value add here, right? Other than coffee. Did that for about 6 months. Went down deep south to this place called McAllen, Texas, and really got into the clinical operations of things. Practiced dentistry, as I still do today, but simultaneously worked on being a consultant, right? I loved answering questions. And part of that was finding a platform and an outlet for sharing stories, telling stories. Who are we? Who am I, right? And that leads into kind of background in marketing and then directorship. So along the way, it's like you get the opportunity, the rare opportunities to meet some pretty influential people, right? In our own personal journeys, not in and of themselves, but our interactions together. And from these interactions, we find perspectives. And so this is the first intersection that I'd really like to explore. Can't do that, though, without giving a big shout out and helping put a face and a name together. Here we have my great mentor, original founder of Rodeo Dental, Dr. Sam Zarabi. He's this doc in the jacket here. And then right next to him is my great friend, one of my best buddies, adventure guy, cinematographer extraordinaire. His name is Matthias Norman, based out of Oslo. We met in San Francisco. This is him jumping out of a plane. Lives a way cooler life than I do. Gets to do cool stuff like film for music festivals. This past week at Tomorrowland, gets to go on tour with people like Martin Garrix, Kygo for the past year. And so these are some amazing individuals that have been with us on the journey and have been super empowering, whether that be on the opportunity side or the application of talent. So, together with those two individuals, it's like Dr. Z started the practices. He's got kind of the financier and the trust. I would say mostly the trust in order for us to pursue an opportunity. And together with my buddy, we pick up the camera and work our way through visions in order to tell stories. These visions, though, have to come from unique perspectives, whether that be from the patient perspective, the doctor perspective, or the company, brand value add, if you will. And so lots of considerations here, right? What does the patient want to see? What is the patient used to seeing, right? When they think of a dentist, are they thinking about like somebody in a white coat, kind of like white walls, is it clean, right? When they think of the doctor, a more experienced doctor, younger, older, male, female, how do they come off? In the company, is this somewhere I want to go? Is this a place that I might think is cool and can actually give me what I'm looking for? So those are the perspectives, right? And from these perch points, you can kind of find a unique angle to do something different. At least we try to. That's on the conceptual side. On the composition side is really like, okay, so how are you putting all that together, right? So many considerations. I know there are lots of agencies out here, and so if you want to get into a deep dive of like composition and what it is through that arc of actual creation through execution, would be happy to dive into that after this. But in a word, we borrowed a lot from cinematography. LabCorp, earlier this morning, that commercial, incredible. Super Top Gun vibes. It was like top notch, right? And a level that we definitely aspired to get to. Walgreens did the same thing with John Legend there. And so composition is huge. Work with Matthias on this. And our thought is if we can meld the two and find that sweet spot between like, what do you want to see? What do we want to show you? And how are we putting this together in order to stand out in the marketplace? We might have a winning formula. Not sure, but it's worth a shot. So, what does that look like? Well, about to take us through a couple of case studies, right? A couple of examples. I figured it's easier to show you and kind of walk through the process and let you decide for yourself. And then follow up with maybe some tangible results. So one of the things that we try to do is try to be cool externally, right? To the kids nowadays, it's clout. Do you have clout? Are you an Instagram influencer? If you have clout, I might want to look at you. I might want to see you, right? I think Nico earlier this morning talked about using patience in order to create that element of cool and testimony by way of participation. With most of our visuals here, you'll see actual patients and actual people in the communities. So not only are they helping to highlight and sell an experience, but they are, in and of themselves, standing testament to that very idea that they're a part of selling. So, okay. This one's called...
Having a great time hanging out with my friends. It's all about the memories. That's something I'll never forget.
Book your perfect summer today at rodeodentaltexas.com.
That's what's up. Okay, so a couple different elements. I know Veronica just touched on the idea of vintage, right? And so, in other words, a mood, a vibe. It's got nothing to do with dentistry. It's just a bunch of kids like hanging out. They're having fun, right? But why? Like, why this type of content? Well, because of the ecosystem, the environment. Where are you launching this ad, right? And who are you targeting? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Facebook? What are they used to seeing? What are they actually going to engage with, right? If I show you something super sterile, you might not take to that well. One of our other speakers had just come up here and talked about, I think it must have been the deep intent, right? They talked about the match. What do you want to see and what am I showing you? This is one attempt at showing you something that you might want to see that's strictly putting us out there and saying, we might have clout, we might be cool, you should consider us. Pure awareness piece, right? So that's aspirationally cool. And this is an added piece of creative just to show you that these elements of creative don't exist in silo. In fact, they exist as entire campaigns that stretch the entire funnel from awareness through like mid-funnel, educational, work with like a lot of influencers, and so they have their own organic pieces. And then all the way at the end of the funnel, we have pieces like this, which are straight promos. Super simple, nothing crazy, right? but fun, and it kind of gets to the point. Still achieves that idea of cool. Okay, and so now it's like, all right, like that's cool, but it's got nothing to do with the office. Like, you might just be selling me that. Is that on face value? Well, another conversation that we like to have through visual narratives is, you know, we're actually internally cool. Like, check out our vibe. This is who we are. Okay, better, right? It's like, now I'm seeing some of The Office. It's okay, like, but, you know, it's still missing a couple elements, and we're getting there. As far as cool, though, now you get an idea. First, I showed you what you, outside of the walls of these offices, can be like. Living just beautiful, picturesque life with your friends in an endless summer. And when you're in the office, you're in the mix. This is the life of the party, and we want you to feel the vibe, right? But lots of jazz in there still. So another conversation we like to have is like, well, you should come and take a tour of our office, right? Like, we can show you all these images, but like, what is it actually like to be inside one of our clinics? And is that something that you're actually going to enjoy? So office tours is another conversation that we love to put out there as far as see what we're about. Again, harks on the excitement of the brand. What do we stand for? What are we speaking on? And what do we like, right? Not just what we like, what we're like as people, but when you walk into the door, what is that patient experience? I think it was also Nico that maybe brought up that brand is not just the conversations, it's not just the visuals you put out there, it's the entire experience, right? But how do I share that with you without you actually walking and being in here? Well, visual narratives may be one way. And so that's an example of that. Two more quick examples. I won't keep throwing these in front of you guys, right? But then there's like brand value. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I see what you're like. I see what you're trying to sell. But like, what's in it for me, right? Like, what am I going to look like being here? And so the idea of selling beauty, right? And at the end of this, we can kind of recap, and I can show you that like none of this is done before. We're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just borrowing from different elements. Somebody talked about skin, Veronica. This is borrowing from like Estée Lauder or some type of like
I love you.
Skin makeup brand. Or
Show your smile DNA with the bigger and brighter smile. New braces from award-winning dentists who care. Come experience high-end dentistry and get your braces today at rodeodentaltexas.com.
Yay, right? Yeah. So the idea is you can be beautiful. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I should say you are beautiful, right? And even more so with us. Like, let us help, right? Brand valuable. Like, the brand is valuable because there's value add. And then there's this last one that is, you know, we're slowly getting better at this, right? At first it was like no words, there's nothing, like I'm not pitching you anything. In this last visual, you'll see it's like, okay, finally the brand is getting there and sending messages about like actual services, right? And so check it out. This is the neon party.
Between looking your best and good times with friends, smiling is the ultimate confidence. Join the party with the coolest dental services in town. Come see what we're all about. World-class doctors and super fun staff. Be the best you and turn your world upside down. Cleanings, braces, and family dentistry for everyone. Book your appointment today at rodeodental.com.
Verbiage on there, a little more traditional selling, things that we're slowly picking up on, right? Like, you should probably have a call to action, right? All these other elements. And so finally, we're getting there. So So that's the creative process, right? And a lot of that maybe comes left field for the healthcare. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of that probably comes left field, borrowed from like a lot of recognizable elements that may be out there in the marketing field as a whole. And so let's get to the brass tacks. In the building, it's important, right? Like in music, you can make a really great song, but unless you have distribution, it's not going to be a hit record. And so teaming up with agencies and putting out this creative properly through channels of distribution such as paid search and paid social has had a huge impact on our business. Tracking and attribution, sometimes murky, sometimes gray, but through a lot of concerted efforts, have been able to really pinpoint to a high degree the level of attribution. So I say all that to say is like, okay, does this work, right? Like, talked about a lot of these intersections about like how you finally get to this creative, like why you do everything that you do, but like, does it actually work, right? Like, are you making any progress to the top or bottom line? The answer for us so far has been actually yes. For the different type of campaigns that we run, whether that be awareness, clicks, leads, we've seen a number of metrics that have been pretty encouraging. Whether that be something as simple as overperforming your awareness goals, right? We've done that by over 100%, actually across the board on all of our campaigns. Low CPMs and high CTRs, these are based on industry standards. And then leads, right? That's the most important thing. Are the patients coming through your door? Yeah, actually, what we found is that at our best, this creative has helped us reduce our customer acquisition cost by 5x in the past 6 months. This is a comparison year over year. So, okay, sounds great, but like, let's see it. CTR benchmark for link click campaigns is about 1%. This is a little cherry picked, right? But our best visual has kind of performed, one of the ones that you saw actually, at almost 2% CTR. So double, that's nice. CPM benchmark is about $5. We've been consistently under that, not by much, but you know, around the $4 mark. So that's cool. It's happened once, happened twice, a couple times over, right? And then we get to like the heavy hitting stuff, which is like, all right, what's happening to your top line? What's happening to your bottom line? Actually, kind of works. Last year at this time in our Brownsville area, it cost us $157 per lead. As of today, and this is just on paid social, right? On paid search, it's somewhere around like the $37, $40 mark. But last year we were up at like 157, 164, 132, $70, $73. Or in Colorado, we just didn't have a benchmark because we opened a couple new offices, right? But at least the first 6 months of data is like pretty encouraging to say like, oh, you know what? Like, this probably works, right? So in summary, what am I trying to say? Like, what am I really saying? I'm saying throughout this journey and throughout this like early arc, we've made our own creative and we distributed assets for return. Great, that's something everybody does, right? But what's different is maybe how we've gone about our creative process and the type of materials that we've been able to put out. And finally, in our early stages for deployment, we're in our early stages of deployment and information feedback, and so we're still optimizing around those metrics and waiting for those inputs. But existing at intersections, the intersection between creative and distribution in order to drive growth, the intersection between passions and action, people and perspectives in order to drive deliverables has been huge. So that's something that we would highly encourage. And as far as takeaways, it's like, all right, if we were to break down our insights from just like, very early happenings, it's that we found to be our fundamental truths is creating well with perspective and intent is probably key to content creation. Optimal deployment, meaning where are you distributing, how are you investing in those modalities of distribution, and then optimizing as these campaigns are running is probably key to conversion. And if you are able to synergize across those two things, you might be able to drive a large factor of growth, right? These things are almost by definition, but we're just learning it now. So we super appreciate these areas, these points of intersection, and feel like, man, that's what probably makes being a part of the media industry really exciting. And our next step is to follow the lead of speakers like Danny and Al from Good Apple or Nick with a lot of these insights about what's remaining in this ecosystem, right? And how do you incorporate that to really take the business to the next level? And so with that, thanks for your time, and big shout out to the team behind it all, the vendors that we work with at 9 Rooftops.
Michael, thank you so much. We're gonna go to a roundtable on creative now, so I'm gonna just hold the questions so they can engage you in the roundtable. Thanks, everybody.